Hey, good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's Popco the Writers, myself, Paul Story over there. We are here to talk about fun things, but this popped in my head. All last week, my mother came up to me and said, "Who is calling you at the beginning of your show?" And this is during the Dan Wickline show. And I'm like, "Nobody is." She goes, "Every time you go in to do your show, I hear somebody calling you." I said, "No, hang on a sec." And I pulled up one of the videos of the show. I said, "Is this it?" And she thinks the opening theme for the Dan Wickline show is my ringtone.
You could make it your ringtone.
No, my ringtone is the Mandalorian theme.
Yeah, there you go.
Unless it's somebody specific. I have people with specific ringtones.
Yeah.
My ex-mother-in-law used to be the Vader theme. And Debbie was like, "Why is that my mother's theme?" I said, "Because she's on oxygen and she sounds like that when she comes down the."
Oh.
And she's like,
"Also, she's evil."
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, her mom was super sweet.
Oh, okay.
So
that's good.
Yeah.
So
So what have you been up to, Mr. Story, besides COVID?
Oh well, yes. I despite my my precautions and my booster and my 2 shots, I somehow managed to let down my guard enough to snag COVID. Wasn't really bad. Sore throat, little drippy, sniffly.
Be honest, but you were making out with America's Tom Zoller at the convention, weren't you?
I have not been at a convention with America's Tom Zoller. But I'm going to just leave that there. You can imagine what happens at conventions we are at. We did have one time a friend of ours came up to us after at a convention and went, "Oh, thank God you guys aren't fighting anymore." And we were both like, "What? What are you talking about?" "Oh, I saw Tom was down at Heroes Con and you weren't there, and you guys always do conventions together, and I figured you were fighting." It's like, no,
interesting assumption.
I still to this day am not entirely sure that he was serious, but if he did, Kevin, you did a fine job. Because but it was just like, well, yeah, you guys are always together at shows. It's like, no, Tom does a ton more shows than I do.
Yeah.
So you're going to see him more often than you do me.
Oh yeah, it's like when I would travel with Tone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tone and I traveled together for a long time doing all these shows, and then we stopped, and we just kind of started doing different things. And I would have people going, "What's wrong with Tone? Why isn't he here?" I don't. We're not related. We're not. I know we look like brothers, but
yeah, that it is weird though. People get this idea that although Tom and I did used to set up together every once in a while, but and then some shows they'll put us next to each other. But yeah it's just so odd. Like, oh, why I'm glad you guys are back. Anyway, hello, America's Tom Zoller and all the ships at sea. But what have you been up to? I have not been up to much besides the COVID and trying to deal with various and sundry medical crap.
I have been plotting out an idea for a murder mystery. I may try it. Yeah. And I've continued crocheting. I finished a second blanket.
Nice.
This one for my ex-wife. No, there's no razor blade sewn into it. I get along very well with my ex-wife.
I was going to say, you just did the thing where you pour the ground glass on it and then some kind of a...
It's called a Harrow blanket. It's called a Harrow blanket. It's got sharp glass built into it. Yeah. No. It's a lovely purple and purple shades of purple blanket. And
Aww.
Yep. And I'll give it to her for her birthday next month. So I didn't know how long it was.
Watch the show.
Oh, trust me, she doesn't. Part of the reason why we're divorced.
Yeah.
So I finished that, and like I said, I've been working on the idea of a new murder mystery, and just doing my my normal shows and stuff. But folks, if you're tuned in, do me a favor, hit the like, subscribe buttons, all those things that you normally get asked to do in a show. Will help us out quite a bit. Yeah, wherever they are down there. All right, today we are going to, I did watch the Batman twice last week.
Oh,
I hadn't seen it
really?
yet, and
Yeah.
I watched it on Monday, the night it debuted on HBO Max, and really liked it. And then Thursday night, I was just set up in my room, nice and comfy, had the crocheting out, was working away, and I thought I'll just put it on again. And I watched it and liked it just as much. Started noticing little things that he had put in there. Now, I don't think it's a perfect movie. I've got my complaints about it.
There is no. Let's be honest. There are no perfect movies. It is funny that that has become the default because people there may be a handful, but what I'm saying is it's become this default where we have to preamble that just because I liked something, I don't mean it's perfect. And it's like,
Yeah,
you know what? It's okay to just like it.
yeah. By
Yeah.
the way, 1999, The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. That's
Amen.
that's a perfect movie.
That is a perfect movie. It,
Yes,
it is.
yes.
Um,
Chef's kiss of a movie.
it is interesting though that you watched the movie the second time, and for this show, I thought, well, Batman's on HBO. I've got HBO now. I'll just watch it. And then I went, no, I won't, because I found it excruciating the first time. So I
Excruciating.
decided not to.
See, that's kind of what I want to get to,
Yeah,
because I look online and there is no middle ground. There's nobody comes out and goes, it was all right. It's either, oh my God, that was a trog. What a long and boring movie. Or best Batman movie ever.
which is not saying much.
Well, there are a lot of Batman movies that people like.
I
And at 750 million before it goes to HBO Max in only 45 days, that's a pretty good sign that some people liked it.
Sure.
Yeah. But now I was going to tell you, I mentioned this before the show.
Mm-hmm.
I just had dinner with my nephew and his boyfriend and my mom, and they had just seen Batman this weekend. And George, my nephew's boyfriend, didn't particularly. It's funny. He said he didn't like the film.
Mm-hmm.
Then we started debating it, and it got down to certain things he didn't like, but overall he liked the film.
Mm.
But the things he didn't like kind of threw me off a little bit. One of which was when Batman is watching. Wait, let me. Just in case, spoilers.
This is one where it's an actual. Often we'll throw up spoilers, but it's like, a Marvel thing where people are watching it as soon as it comes out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So the scene where Batman is basically doing the peeping Tom thing on Catwoman, and the blonde is there, Annika, and George is like, "That's who he's looking for. That's the woman he's trying to find." Catwoman leaves, or Selina leaves, and he follows her.
Yeah.
And then later on goes, "We need to talk to her," and go back and find she's missing. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm with you on that. I can see that being a flaw in the story. But he also felt that Selina kissing Batman was way too soon. They hadn't earned that. I'm like, it was a kiss. Oh no, there was a relationship there. Sometimes in stressful situations, you get attracted to somebody where you wouldn't normally. There's plenty of explanations for that, but that's the thing that he was really upset about, was that there was no that the whole relationship between the two of them was rushed. And it's like, well, they're kind of kindred spirits, you know. That it didn't seem rushed to me. It didn't even seem like that much of a relationship.
I will go going straight down the middle on this. I agree with you that it wasn't that much, but it did feel like they were trying to the filmmakers were trying to layer in some subtext there. Go, there's a lot of kindred spirits that I've met and not kissed like immediately, and also but there's also it tying in with that whole uh you know I got to solve this murder, the murder spree going on, but first I have to go chase the kitty cat. I, so it all, and then it was almost like their chemistry was built in to be like justifying why he stopped, why he didn't go and follow the case.
Yeah.
Um, which I did not buy. But yeah, but so I'm kind of down the middle on that. I didn't necessarily. I think he was picking up on stuff that the filmmakers were trying to kind of shoehorn in there. But
Mhm.
I agree with you that certainly I've kissed a girl on a first date.
Yeah. Which I tried to explain to him too. And he's like, no, you obviously talked to her more that night. I'm thinking, no. But my mom's in the room and I'm not going to explain some of the weird ass nights I've had.
Yeah,
But yeah, so, but for me, some of the things that I didn't like, and he agreed with some of them, I thought like the wingsuit scene that seemed to be filmed by a GoPro just totally took me out of the movie.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, you didn't need to do that. That was ridiculous. The constant repetitive musical score.
Yeah, that was really an odd choice, especially once it wasn't a a score written for, they kept going back to the like opera music
Yeah, the Ave
or
Maria.
yeah, and it's just like, yes, we get it. You're trying to invest this with portent and importance, and it's like, okay, but it's getting a little tiring there. But,
Yeah, I thought the musical score needed help. I'm not a Nirvana fan, and in particular, Something in the Way is a very moody sounding thing,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it is not a good song. Hang on one second. Um, and what's funny is earlier in the week when I talked about the Batman on the Dan Wickline show, I thought it'd be funny to just quote the lyrics of the song
Yeah.
before the show because we do a cold open now, and I thought, well, I'll just throw those out there, and now they're stuck in my head, and there's only one block of lyrics. Underneath the bridge, the tarp has sprung a leak, and the animals I caught have now become my pets. I'm living off of grass and the droppings from the ceiling. It's okay to eat fish because they don't have any feelings.
Catch you right here.
Yeah, yeah. Something in the way. Literally, those are the only lyrics in the song, and it's like, okay, I'm never going to get those out of my head now.
And then you went to the trouble of memorizing them. So,
I didn't. I read them. It just stuck.
yeah,
They're not that good. They just stuck.
because you're like, what the? And what
Yeah,
does that have to do with the title? You know,
yeah, yeah. I'm going to need that space in my brain. I'd like them to leave now.
it's only like a panel's worth of dialogue,
Yeah,
so you'll be fine.
but yeah. So the music was overdone or the was repetitive. The suit, the didn't love his haircut. He was a bit too emo. The whole "you're not my dad" to Alfred thing. You're not a Wayne. We could have done without that.
Yeah, yes, because he came across as petulant.
Yeah,
Like
but then
Bruce and Alfred often, spark off each other. They have friction because, but not like, you're not my dad. And I half expected him run out of the room like Barry Goldberg with that like little weird white waving arms thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
If he was like 18,
Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Robert Pattinson's like 34 at this point.
Yes.
So, but I also understand that we don't have the we have a Bruce Wayne that doesn't think Bruce Wayne's important. Thinks that all that matters is Batman. He doesn't realize that being Bruce Wayne is a tool he can use.
Yeah.
He hasn't created the billionaire playboy persona. So from that point of view, I kind of excuse some of those things because I'm just looking at the overall
Yeah.
story.
Although he does feel older. He doesn't feel young enough that in for me, he didn't feel young enough to be that, and supposedly he's only been at it for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well,
So
this is supposed to be year 2.
yeah,
So
which just seems to be like, wow, he got a really late start compared to other, you know,
yeah,
Batman's. Is it Batman's or Batman?
Bat Mises.
Hate Batman's pieces.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, but there's a lot I loved in the movie. I loved the overall story. I love that when we get the reveal, we realize that Riddler has been basically working everybody like puppets from the beginning. When you find out that, his first murder is with a carpentry tool or carpenter's tool, so that he know.
A carpet layers tool.
Yeah, a Tucker a carpet layer's tool.
Yeah.
So I mean, so he knew all of this how it was playing out.
Yeah.
Which to me is fascinating. But like I said, there's flaws in the movie. The bomb blowing up in his face. I don't care if you put his hand up or not. The penguin tumbling over and over again. You probably got a dead penguin at that point.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like he's wearing a seatbelt. It doesn't look like he's the type that would put a seatbelt on anyway. But
airbags, can you fucking believe it?
Airbag never popped. I watched for it the second time.
Just quoting one of my favorite movies of all time, Hudson Hawk.
Oh, okay, yes. Highly underrated movie.
True. Not perfect, but close.
Yeah. All right, Paul. What did you think of the Batman?
Well, the first thing that I thought was that it was really cool of Warner Brothers to let Funny or Die do their latest Batman film. I'm Batman. I'm crying. The second thing, which this bumped me out of the movie right at the beginning, and I started referring to him in my head as Rorschach Man. I'm looking it out over the city, and the city is doing, and I'm like, oh my god, you're doing Rorschach's journal? Seriously? At the very and most people hate voiceover. I am not one of them, but in this case, I was I like the original Blade Runner with the voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
Because I read a lot of first person hard boiled detective fiction, but this was just like I was waiting for him to say, and they'll look up at me and say, "Save us," and I'll say, "No." One of the things that bothered me visually was the urine filter that they decided to use on a lot of scenes. Like the yellow tinge was awful to me. I think they were going like, oh, we don't want to do blue, or they did some red, but blue is very common in kind of noirish stuff. But that yellow filter was killing me. It just made me want to stop watching more. Let's see. Once again, they take a comic book superhero and go, we have to make this more realistic. And the example I always use, like action heroes, just regular run of the mill action heroes. Runner, Die Hard. John McClane's run around in slacks and a tank top
Mhm.
the whole thing. Um, and he very seldom gets injured except when he has to run across glass. But with comic book superheroes, they have to throw armor on them because otherwise it wouldn't be believable. Um, and the example I always use, and I'm not saying it's a great movie, but in the first Lara Croft movie with Angelina Jolie, she took on a tactical team in silk pajamas. And whatever anybody else thought about that movie, they didn't go, oh, that's not realistic. She would have been dead. Because action heroes do that all the time. They're not wearing armor and they're fine.
Mhm.
But with non-powered superheroes, it's got to throw armor on them. And I hated the costume. Um, but mostly, I just that trope of it's got to be more realistic is it's that's just going in the opposite direction that I want. I also thought the Riddler was right. Batman wasn't all that smart because they presented it as a modern day thing. They didn't go, oh, this is the 90s. There's a thing called Google image search. Neither Batman nor Gordon nor just like a clerk in the Gotham City PD went, oh, let's do a Google image search. Hey, that's a carpet laying tool. Like so you don't have to wait for the coincidence, which I know
Yeah.
you always love coincidence, of the guy going like, hey, you know, my uncle was a carpet layer, and that's a carpet laying tool. And Batman going, holy shit, I can't believe it. This guy's a genius. Um, I just yeah, it just things seemed very convenient. I was look, I don't expect the Joker to be running around in a spandex onesie with question marks on it. People would just mistake him for that guy that does the where can you get loans? But
Mhm.
but the the garbage bag thing, I could he looked like Doomsday from the Superman comic when he was first. So yeah, he didn't seem very Riddler to me.
Mhm.
Um, and I know it's like, what about plot problems? No, it was a pretty standard plot. It moved along. I thought that was fine. I've seen other serial killer movies, and if you've seen another serial killer movie, I felt like this one did not break any new ground in that genre. Um, yeah, just I like every time I looked for something that I liked, that I liked, I wanted to like something. But like I say, they didn't help out by like knocking me out of it. The first thing didn't the yeah, the whole thing just it was a long 2.5 hours or more for me. Is yeah. I kept thinking, well, maybe I can go out to an all night breakfast place after this ends. The 11 o'clock showing, 11 a.m. showing that I'm at. Maybe I could go to a 24-hour diner and get something. It just to me it dragged. I didn't. I okay. This is my last gripey gripe thing, and then I'll try and talk more about it. But Gordon walking Batman into the crime scene. Batman does not need Gordon to walk him into the crime scene. He could have been in and out of that crime scene, and even though it's year two, like he could get into that crime scene and do all the stuff that he needed to do. At least, again, my Batman, which I really hate that phrase generally, but the way I expect Batman to be, because that was just odd. It was like take your Cape Crusader to work day. Why is your kid here, Lieutenant Gordon? Oh, he just wanted to see what a live, murder scene looked like. He didn't come away with any brilliant insights to my mind. from doing that. Like I want Batman to be going like, oh, you forgot, you missed that this is there, that's there, and stuff. And he didn't come across as much of a detective to me.
Mhm.
And now I am done with my venting, and you can talk about that which is, you can illuminate that which was great in the script.
First, let's pull what Cody says. Cody says, I like the overall idea of the story. Reeves has an interesting look on bringing scripts to screen. There was also a lot of Batman instead of Bruce Wayne. There should have been more balance between the two. When he was Bruce Wayne, there wasn't a whole lot of reason for him to work within the story. I agree with Paul on Batman's lack of detective skills. There still has yet to be a good movie with that respect. Um, and maybe I'm this way, or maybe I'm unique this way, but when I walk into a movie, I try to divorce what I know of the character going in.
Sure.
You know, so the my Batman, and sometimes I can't. Sometimes it goes so far from what I think is the heart of the character that I no, that's not Batman. That's not this.
Yeah.
I didn't get that here. And Matt Reeves' Batman, for me, is someone who has been so focused on being vengeance that he hasn't developed the detective skills yet. He hasn't made the Bruce Wayne persona yet. The foppish playboy, the Scarlet Pimpernel routine.
The Don Diego Vega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I actually liked the fact that it was mostly Batman and very little Bruce Wayne. Or when he was Bruce Wayne, it wasn't the millionaire playboy. Because I kind of liked seeing that because I look at this as part of a whole. I know that they're going to do 2 more movies because that's what you do now. You do a trilogy.
Hmm.
And that's already what's in play, along with there's going to be a Penguin series and an Arkham series. So I liked that a lot. And I liked the world building it did. The fact that now we're in a Batman universe, you've got a Joker, even though we just got a hint of him. Um, but he's already out of the way in a sense. He
Yeah.
exists in this universe, but we don't need to get to him right away. I doubt he'll be the villain for number 2. We've got a Riddler, we've got um, a
Penguin.
Catwoman and a Penguin.
Yeah.
One of the things I really loved about the film is Officer Martinez. Officer Martinez to me is Gotham. He is how the people of Gotham see Batman, because he's in the very beginning when he's the one that puts his hand on Batman's chest to keep him out of the crime scene. He's the one that he's one of the ones who tries to fight Batman in the police station. And as it goes along, his attitude about Batman changes. He's the one that helps Batman. He's the one that knows it's a carpet layer's tool. So in a way, to me, that character is the representation of Gotham because he's in all the important scenes, and it's his attitude towards Batman that changes along with Batman. Because what we get in the beginning, this is similar to what a lot of people didn't like about the Daredevil movie, is that Daredevil started off as a vigilante and ended as a hero. So he would do something like leave Joe Quesada to be killed on the train tracks. No, that's not my Daredevil. Well, no. But the Daredevil you want is at the end. Now, did he need to kill somebody to get there? No, that was a bit extreme. But here, I see Batman is so focused on being vengeance that he's not worried about the people of Gotham. He's worried about Gotham as a whole, as the city. And now he's starting to see the individuals. He's starting to become the hero by the end of it. The fact that he's still there, it's daylight, everybody's on the roof, and he hasn't left. He's putting people into stretchers and helping them onto helicopters, stuff like that. That to me is is a great arc for the character. The fact that yes, he was angsty, whiny, bitchy, Bruce, but his connection to Alfred becomes stronger. His connection to the city, his connection to Gordon. I see this as being a lot of the connecting pieces to the Batman we know. You know, this is, to me, in a lot of ways, this is connecting Frank Miller's Year One to the other Batmans, or it's probably even more so Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's Earth One take on Batman. There's a lot of pulled from there, including the costume, Alfred being a badass when but walking with a cane, all those things. And the Riddler we get is straight out of Earth One, Volume Two.
Ah,
But also, I did that video on the psychology of the Riddler, and by looking at him as having obsessive compulsive personality disorder with a comorbidity of bipolar 1, this is a progression for that character from what we have in comics. It does make sense for the character to get there with how they've grown the character over the years. Now, he's very much the Zodiac Killer. And you can see that Matt Reeves is doing a lot of nods to David Fincher in this movie.
mm.
Seven, and just, I mean, down the line. It's a love letter to David Fincher.
I'm surprised there wasn't a box.
With a head in it, yes. Yeah. But the fact that it's raining all the time and just all that stuff. So I see what he was going for here. And to me, it's the start of a bigger story. So there's enough pieces in here that I liked that I can overlook things like I don't think they earned all the Riddlers in the after the flood at the end. I don't think they set that up properly.
Yeah, he didn't come across as like a folk hero.
Yeah.
Prior to that, and I understand what you're saying about him making a progression, but the thing is that we have seen it. It starts in different places, but we've seen this progression before. It's a different take on it, but again, it's like, how does Batman really become the hero of Gotham? I felt, so, and in this case, that's from the previous movies. I get the feeling I just don't like Matt Reeves' filmmaking sensibilities, uh, which is that's me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I don't I found nothing compelling about this, and I know that you're fond of saying that, and this will come up when we discuss Moon Knight #4 in a bit. You're fond of saying, well, you only like it if it's in the comics. Well, or from the comics, and that's not true. Captain America: The First Avenger was not like the comics, but I loved it because Steve was Steve.
Yeah.
And so I guess I can never quite divorce myself from what I love about the character. And I try and give each interpretation its own thing. I think possibly too, I'm spoiled because it used to be we'd get a Batman movie like, well, let's see, 66 to 89, kind of a long gap in there.
Yeah.
And then, and then you would get one like every couple of years for a while, and then it goes away. So, we used to, whenever something came out that was superhero related, we tend to jump on it and be really hungry to like some aspect of it just so they would do more.
Yeah.
We're like, ooh, the Danny Elfman theme was fantastic, which it was. And so, but I'm spoiled now. There have been so many interpretations of characters that I like
Mm-hmm.
now that I don't have to be hungry for any scrap
Yeah.
that they throw me. And again, like, I get it. My tastes are not the tastes of the public at large. I have friends who are Batman fans who are all over this thing. They've seen it uh, multiple times already. They, went back and saw it 2 days after they saw it the first time in the
Yeah.
theater. And I can't understand it. But I also don't think that everybody has to like what I like. I
Right.
wish they did. I'd get more good stuff that I liked. But
Yeah. Well, what the thing you said I like to say is actually not
yeah,
quite right.
okay,
I said that a lot of people tend to not like. I hear that a lot. The people who don't like something because it's not the way it was in the comics. And I'm not saying that's you specifically. You have pointed out some things that because you didn't like because of that, but it's not like, well, everything has to be in the comics, and that's not what I'm saying. You are.
okay, yeah,
It's like I know you're not a big fan of the Sharon Carter twist in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but you're a big Sharon Carter fan.
yep.
I don't like it because I think it's bad writing.
Well, I think we're going to find out down the line that there's a reason for it.
Yeah, I know. You keep
But
holding.
that's another thing is, boy, the way things are set up now, it's like, well, you may find out 3 years what that was. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am not the person that goes in and go, oh my God, I'm going to love this because it's a superhero movie. I
Sure.
was actually predisposed to not like the Batman. When I saw the things for it, my first thought was, oh God, again, another Batman movie? We don't need another Batman movie. And when it was continuing the Ben Affleck thing, it made sense to me. But another new Batman, and then Robert Pattinson. And unlike a lot of people, I didn't really have an opinion on Robert Pattinson because I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else. I've never watched Twilight. I didn't watch Tenet. I
You
haven't.
ever watch Harry Potter?
Okay, I saw him as Cedric Diggory.
Yeah.
You're right. You got me on that one.
But
So-
but still, that was when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
And
So I didn't have an opinion on Robert Pattinson. I don't think I've seen any of Matt Reeves' movies either. I don't watch the Planet of the Apes movies. I don't know what else he's done. So I went into this, but the buzzword that got me, that I'm like, oh God, is when he said, well, I look at Bruce Wayne as kind of Kurt Cobain. And I'm like, can I tap out now? How do I get out of here?
Yeah.
Because I'm not a Nirvana fan. I will listen to the Foo Fighters all day long, but I'll be damned if I got to listen to Nirvana. And I live in LA, and I used to listen to K-Rock all the time. And K-Rock would play Nirvana every day, usually every 2 hours. You'd get a Nirvana song.
Yeah.
And this was 20 years after the guy's death.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, he wasn't that good in the first place. Yeah, I know. Look, I listened to grunge when it came out.
Yeah.
I was more of a Pearl Jam, Screaming Trees, Soundgarden, much more in that vein. Nirvana Kurt just sounded kind of whiny to me. I wasn't that impressed.
Well, and
But-
it's also distressing when you hear somebody go, my Batman, the way I see this guy is that he's just on the verge of suicide.
Yes.
Like,
but he kind of is in this. Because at one point he says, I don't have a reason to live. You know, that Batman is his reason to live.
Right.
So It is an interesting take on the character. It's not a take we've seen before. Because every version has a Bruce Wayne. This one doesn't even feel like it had a Bruce Wayne. It just had, just had Batman not in costume.
Yeah. I didn't have a feeling about Pattinson either way myself. Like a lot of people are like, Twilight Batman. I'm like, he's an actor. you know, I was not like, I also don't hate Batfleck, as
Yeah,
you know, a bunch of people are like, oh, I don't like him. Yeah, it sounds more like you don't like Ben Affleck.
which I don't understand either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
so yeah,
okay.
I was just going to say, so I didn't go, I must admit, weirdly, every time anybody told me a reason why they were looking forward to the film, I would go, that's exactly why I'm not looking forward to the film.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, it looks like it's going to be a grueling psychological. Yeah, it's like, I'm getting tired. I'm kind of getting tired of that, where it's like, let's dive into the torment. And eventually I would like to see, and this is something that I think happens with all superhero movies, that I was like, be more like James Bond. And I know that's hit or miss, but it's like, oh, Peter Parker is a high school student in this movie, and the actor's aging out. Get a new high school student. Um, you
yeah,
know, you don't have to. You don't have to reboot and reboot and reboot and reboot. I would like to see a Batman with some experience under his utility belt. Get it? That just, going up against somebody that's competent and confident, and I'm so, that's why I guess I was not excited about a new young Batman,
yeah.
because I yes, I've seen, I think, all of the all the Batman movies, because like I said, there used to not be much of a choice. If you
Yeah,
wanted to watch any
yeah,
superhero stuff, that was what you had.
yeah.
But
I didn't necessarily love the Tim Burton Batmans. They were very campy to me,
yeah,
and I
well,
don't like camp.
I thought it was hilarious because Tim Burton was like, "Oh, this is going to be like the TV show," and then he had, "Hey, it's Lilacs brand," and the Joker going into a art gallery and messing things up, and I'm like, there was an episode of the show where the Joker went into an art gallery and messed stuff up.
Yeah. Joel Schumacher wasn't that far from Tim Burton.
No, he really wasn't.
No.
I was the one. I went to the midnight showing to Batman '89. I walked in, I watched the movie. I'm like, there were some parts that I liked. And then I walked out, and I was watching all these people just so giddy and excited, and I'm like, I don't understand. Um, it really blew my mind. So I have. What was it? Was Val Kilmer the first Schumacher?
Yes.
Yeah. Other than being as kind of over the top in set design as it was, I I felt like that was not a bad. I'm not. I didn't say it not good, but it just like, at least they hit a few beats that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
okay. I actually liked George Clooney as Batman. Didn't like the script, didn't like the movie, but I liked Clooney as Batman.
yeah, and boy, if they had written a better Bruce Wayne for him, he would have been perfect.
Yeah.
I that they did that with I don't think Kilmer was awful.
No.
I loved Kilmer and a lot of other stuff. But again, they were just sort of like, well, here's the script. Let's just get a guy.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway, you were
yeah.
still extolling the virtues or
Like I
disappointments
said,
of the Matt
uh,
Reeves.
I went in not predisposed to liking it. I didn't go see it in the theater, partly because of the medical stuff, but I could have found a way to get there if I absolutely
Yeah,
wanted to. And I thought, no. And then when I found it was coming out on HBO, I'm like, I'll just wait for it. It wasn't that
yeah,
long. But I really did enjoy it. But it's like I also look at the hiring of Colin Farrell to play Penguin. That's a head scratcher to me. He's
yeah.
fucking brilliant. I really enjoyed his portrayal of the character, but I don't know how you look at that and go, Colin Farrell. Because I don't think of anything I've seen him in that makes me think he could do that and would be worth putting him in that much makeup.
Yeah. Well, and I thought it was an odd choice to turn him into the love child of Tony Soprano and Bobby De Niro. It was an odd choice to me. I was just kept looking at it, going like, okay, like he never, like, I didn't like the Burton bestial penguin.
Right.
But he always came, I mean, the guy wore a tuxedo. He came across as a little urbane most of the time. And this is going full, hey, I got a tuxedo on, so I'm classy. Um, I thought, in much the same way that I thought Heath Ledger did an amazing job with what they gave him to do as the Joker, but didn't like his Joker. I was similar with Colin Farrell. I thought it was amazing the job that he did with it. I just didn't like the part.
Yeah, see, I'm okay with what they did with it because, again, some of these characters, I see them having kind of morphed into these versions in the comics.
Yeah.
Again, Earth One, you get these kind of characters. So I think Earth One is a big blueprint for what Matt
Kind of
Reeves
like
did.
they used kind of like Marvel used, or well, Sony technically used Ultimate Spider-Man as the kind of template for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Maguire.
Yeah. So it's like I liked what Robin Lord Taylor did with Penguin in the Gotham series.
Yeah.
But I also liked what Corey Michael Smith did with the Riddler. But I look at this and I'm like, okay, this is a different take, but it's still within what I think the extent of the Riddler is. And if the Riddler who's being inspired by Batman, and as it is in the story, I could see him going Zodiac Killer. I could see him, and there's a lot of nods to the Zodiac Killer in this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you actually watch the David Fincher Zodiac movie, it's, yeah. So I would like to have seen Reeves get a little more independently creative because there's a lot of nods to these other movies.
Yeah, that was how I felt about it.
Yeah. But again, for what it was worth, I enjoyed the time that I watched it. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, it was too long. And I'd be like, okay, what would you cut?
I would cut a lot.
I
Like,
but
I don't know, the script to start with. Just cut the whole thing and then rewrite.
yeah.
Then I'd cut the director. But of course, that's also me in my armchair.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a better writer director than Matt Reeves. I obviously don't have the experience he does. But I just, he went in a direction I didn't want to go.
Yeah. And
That
I
happens.
respect that. Yeah, I respect that argument. And I get where you're coming from. And the things you pointed out, yeah, I totally get that.
And it's hard as writers to not have a vision of what you would like to see with a character that you love.
Yeah. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think if I was asked to sit down and write a Batman story, it might fall closer to this than any of the other Batman interpretations. Because I see Batman as being two different characters. There's the Batman on his own, and then there's a Batman you get with the Justice League. And I think Ben Affleck's Batman was perfect for interacting with the Justice League.
Mm.
I don't think that version of Batman would have done well in this kind of movie. And I don't think this Batman, they should never bring Superman into this Batman's universe.
Yeah, because quite honestly, really don't want to see, Henry Cavill going, "Stop whining, for God's sakes! I lost an entire planet."
Well, I do want to see that now that you mention it. But
Well, okay, but again, that's more of a funny or die kind of thing than how it should have ended, right?
But the how it should have ended for this is hilarious because they focus on the bomb that blew up in his face, and through the rest of the funnier how it should have ended, his face is scarred. So even when she goes, "So why the mask? Is it just hideous scars under there?" And they show him all scarred, going, "You have no idea."
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, but I look forward to see what he's going to do next. I'm curious what they're going to do TV series wise, because they're going to give Colin Farrell his own show, which I'm like, all right, I'm in. I thought
I
he
hate
was.
to think of the furniture budget in that,
Oh
the
yeah,
scenery budget.
scenery, yeah. But I think
He's
that's what
not
it
the
is.
penguin; he's the beaver.
Yeah, I think I just kind of accept that this is a different version, just like I accepted Gotham, and Gotham was nowhere near what Batman is in the comics. So I just started thinking of Gotham as an Elseworld, and then was able to, and that's what I look at here. This is Batman Earth One, the Jeff Johns version, and it just makes it easier for me to watch these things.
Yeah, it's hard for me to reconcile the Jeff Johns version of these Earth One books with the fact that he created Stargirl.
Yeah,
Um,
and Green Lantern Corps, the different corps, and he brought back Barry Allen, and it was just yeah.
but specifically Stargirl and her joy.
Well, that was a tribute to his sister.
Yes. Well, I and I'm terribly sorry for his loss, but I and I wish he would go to that, not his sister's passing, but that font of joy more in his work. But that's just me, and here I am. Could you throw me a backhoe so I can dig my own grave quicker? As far as ever
So
working at DC
why don't
again.
we switch topics and talk about Marvel's Batman? God, I hate that. Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
I have a camera. I got a Moon Knight comic right here.
I should have dug out my copy of Werewolf by Night number 38.
32.
32.
38. He appears as a ghost or as a hologram. He's in 32 and 33.
32 and 33. Anyway, I've got those two. I actually bought 33 off the rack.
I got it. 33 I got from a friend of mine in Oregon who traded away a lot of his comics to me. So
but,
I also got
it was many years later that I bought a reading copy of the first issue. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't have spent that $10. At that point it's like I could have gotten like 6 or 8 comics for that, and instead I went and bought this one comic, and it's not even in great shape.
So episode 4. It's really multiple parts.
Yes,
we got part of episode 3.
Yeah.
Then we have a horror movie.
Well, or a mummy homage.
Yeah. And then we go into pick up on the TV series Legion. And then we end on the New Zoo Review.
Oh, nice reference.
Thank you.
Henrietta
Hippo, that's right.
Yeah. Hello. I do love that they both now. Admittedly, Steven's scream is higher pitched, but they both scream. Um,
Oh,
so
that show.
we had revelations of galore, by the way,
Oh
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, we find out that Mark was there when Layla's father gets killed.
yeah. Although he didn't participate. He was trying to stop his partner from
Yes,
going
but is his
full
partner
Riddler.
Raul Bushman or is he Jake, the other persona?
I
Yeah,
I
I don't.
don't. Yeah, that's an interesting. I hadn't even thought of that, but I don't think it is.
Yeah,
But then there's so much of the show that I thought, well, that's obviously not going to be blank,
yeah.
and I was wrong. So I did like the yeah, I did like I almost said Marlene. Uh, I did like Layla having to roll uh, Mark Stevens' body down the dune. Um, and then Dad blast it. There goes Steven again. Oh, you threw a flare in and it shot all the guys up. Yes, because they're trying to kill you. They're trying to kill her. She's trying to protect you. Like,
I
look,
love the fact that he's not willing to turn the body over for many things, but as soon as she starts yelling at him, here you go, Mark.
yeah, yeah. Whoops, gotta go.
Right after with getting speared and yelled at by Layla, take the body, take the body.
Yeah, that was and I did. By the way, I though I said it mockingly, I did kind of like the spirit of the mummy. Uh,
Yeah,
that started up early on. Um, I don't understand though. Um, I don't understand why Glassfoot, Glass Slipper, needed
Arrow.
Harrow. I don't understand why he needed the star chart. They had already found where Amit.
He didn't need the star chart.
Then why did he go back? He was at the dig. They
Yeah,
were digging, and then for some reason he had to go and and mess around with them with the
I think
man
he was
called
trying to.
Midnight.
I think he was just trying to stop them so they wouldn't have to deal with them.
Or he could have just set up a big line of machine gunners outside the dig site, and when they came close, he just.
Yep.
It felt really weird to me because Layla's like, "Oh, he's almost back, and we got to stop." And I thought, well, he didn't have to leave in the first place.
Well,
He
I figured they
already,
were digging and he didn't want to do the work. So he's like, I need to go make sure these guys aren't going to come bother us. You keep digging. Keep digging. I'll go
um,
take the dangerous
it
stuff.
just felt odd. That felt odd to me,
Didn't even
especially
notice it.
when she specifically said, "Oh, they've already gotten back." And I'm like, "Yes." Why did they leave again?
I think it was to stop them.
Yeah, well, I just don't feel like they needed to stop them, but okay. Um, well, you know what? Maybe it was because he was summoned.
Yeah.
That would work. That he was summoned, and he couldn't resist the summoning,
Yeah.
and so there we go. All right, and then he probably you know, all right, I've done it. I've made an excuse.
There you go.
But it makes a certain logical sense. But
So there's creatures inside the tomb. That was a surprise.
yes,
I
uh,
expected booby traps. I didn't expect live mummified creatures.
the haka.
Bless you.
Yes, that felt again. That one felt very mummy to me.
It did. And
Yeah,
I loved it, but at the same time, I'm like, are we in the same show? Did we leave the show?
did we? Yeah, wait. Yeah, it's a bit of a
And
time
now at the
slip.
ending, you have to start wondering, is any of this real? Did any of this actually happen?
Yeah. Well, I remember this episode of Buffy. So, and I know you were saying, and I saw on the interwebs that actually this does echo some of the comics.
Yeah,
Um,
the Jeff Lemire run.
yeah, which I get to I'm looking at. I'm going like, I don't know that I would have loved that run, but I had not read it, so this really did feel kind of like, wait, did we just slip into an episode of Legion?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh goody, that means we get to see oh god damn it, now her name has escaped me. Um dark hair, evil person in this one. What's her name? From Legion
I can't think
and
of who it is, but yeah, I
Parks
know
and
who.
Rec. Yeah. That's so weird. Uh because she's like I'm a huge fan of that actress, so how can I not remember her name? But yeah, there was a lot of it felt like there was a lot of jumping around.
There
Uh,
was. Yeah.
Aubrey
And
Plaza, of course.
Audrey Plaza. If not for the ending, then I probably would have been like, this episode was really scattered.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place. And then you get to the ending, and you're going, I don't know if any of this was real, so I don't know if I can complain.
Yeah. I think it's all real except the stuff in the yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it works.
What
That's
did
how
you
it works
feel?
in the comics too.
Yeah. What did you think when we were introduced to Dr. Stephen Grant?
That was interesting.
Yeah.
What's funny is I know everybody's like, "Oh, it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark." For me, it reminded me of there was two TV series that came out at the same time. There was Bring 'Em Back
Bring him
Alive
back alive.
and Tales of the Gold Monkey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or you
What's
know what
funny,
jumped into my head? Firewalker with Louis Gossett Jr. and Chuck Norris.
Bring 'Em Back Alive was based on a guy named Frank Buck,
Right.
who was a real person.
Yep.
And I went to high school with his grandson.
Oh, that's so odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A kid named David Buck. And when the show came out, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my grandfather." Like, wow.
And you're like, Bruce Boxleitner is your grandfather? He looks so young.
I remember liking that one more than I liked Tales of the Gold Monkey, but I think Tales of the Gold Monkey was the more action.
Oh yeah. I see that's funny to me because I love Tales of the Gold Monkey. And actually I have the box set. I guess it's over there now.
I don't think I gave Tales of the Gold Monkey a chance.
Yeah.
Because Bring 'Em Back Alive came out at the same time, and that was the grandfather of a friend of mine. I had to watch that one.
It is so funny how back in the day we would just like choose like that.
Yeah.
Because even as late as when 30 Rock and Studio 60 came out at the same time,
Uh-huh.
it was like I went for Studio 60 because it was Sorkin, even
Same
though
here.
I love Tina Fey. Call me Tina. Leave your husband and call me. But yeah, it's still that like we were still in that area where even if you had a DVR, it could only do one, maybe two things. And
Yep. What's funny is I watched Studio 60. I loved it. I never got into 30 Rock, and it's because in my mind I couldn't wrap my head around what the show was because I hear 30 Rock and my mind goes Third Rock. So I think of the John Lithgow sitcom and it says, "Oh, they're redoing Third Rock."
Yeah. And I initially made my choice easier because I am not a big fan of Tracy Morgan's persona.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's Tracy Morgan, nor I love the skits and sketches. I mean that he did in uh, on Saturday Night Live, but his just general comedy persona that he projects.
Yeah.
I just was not, it's like I can't sit through a half hour of that. Despite Jane Krakowski being there.
My nephew got me to watch Tracy Morgan and Alec Baldwin in a scene where they're in the psychiatrist and Alec Baldwin pretends to be Tracy's mother. I think it was a mother or maybe father. And I
Father,
laughed my ass off at that.
And it was like, oh, this is so wrong.
You
This
know?
is so terribly wrong. But yes, and I went back after, I think actually after Studio 60 was off the air, I went back and found 30 Rock, like somehow like caught up over the summer like you used to do.
Yeah.
I don't even think I had a streamer at the time. And I know. But yeah, I mean, then it was like it's Tina Fey, it's Alec Baldwin, it's Jane Krakowski, and sometimes some of the Tracy Jordan bits were like the bits that
You like from
Tracy
Morgan.
Morgan did on SNL. So,
Yeah.
but and Jack McBrayer, come on.
Okay.
And Scott Adsit. I mean, it's just like what a cast. So anyway, we're gone way off of Moon Knight.
Let's go back to Moon Knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we've only got 25 minutes. So
yeah, I thought the opening was a little strange with her fighting him. I didn't think they necessarily needed that.
mm-hmm.
They could have just gotten in the truck and left because I don't remember them being that close in the first place. But
well, one thing I will give them is like when they see the Jeep with the headlights or the truck, like you don't end up with let's run and have the car coming up behind us. It's like,
yeah,
I like that drives me nuts when people run down like an alleyway in a show and the car takes forever to catch up with them. It's like, what are they just drawing it out? So this one, at least the once we saw the headlights, it didn't take long before they caught up.
So there's something that happens early in the episode. It gives me a theory. They're going towards the dig site.
Right.
And they look up, and there's a goat on an overcropping, looking down at them.
Yep.
And I immediately flash back to episode 2, where they're doing the Aaron Sorkin walk and talk through the community.
Yeah.
And Stephen goes, "Oh, a goat." And it's like 2 goat references. There is a Egyptian god named Khnum who has the head of a goat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if it's a huge stretch here off of an appearance of a goat. But I'm wondering if the opening scene we get in this episode with Osiris's avatar putting Khonshu's statue into that outcropping in the wall or the incropping, and then seeing all those other statues, if maybe the current Ennead, which is only 5, have been overusing their powers, and the ones that are trapped in the statues are trying to get free. Maybe the Ennead are the bad guys. Amit isn't necessarily. And the goat is, and along with Toweret, the hippo at the end, are actually trying to help get free and are trying to use Mark, Stephen, Jake to do it.
Yeah. One thing I did notice, though, and this doesn't at all invalidate your theory, when they're at the Ennead, there's the decorations at the in the back,
Mm-hmm.
and there was one with horns that looked exactly like that goat. Like there was a huge set, like there was the head there, which I wasn't sure what it was, but there was also, and I'm not sure they were connected, but there were horns there that looked like an immense version of that goat's horns. And I was like, So I did take it as sort of the gods watching. I have a hard time believing that Omnit isn't bad though, when her idea is like, look, I'm going to judge you before you do anything.
Yeah, but if Khonshu is in on this because he doesn't have the power on his own, again, whole speculation here.
Gotcha.
Khonshu is in on this and realizes that what they need to do is get someone that the avatars aren't going to take seriously, a mentally damaged person, or somebody with DID. I shouldn't say mentally damaged, somebody
No.
who is unwell, and then he loses his avatar status because they imprison Khonshu, so they're not really watching him. He might then be able to get through and free them, but to make this all happen, they can't tell Mark this is what's happening. So they give him a completely different mission. And the whole Amit thing is BS.
Mm.
It's
Now, yeah.
way over the top. It's more than Marvel would do, but it's kind of an interesting theory.
See, and I feel like the psychiatric hospital is an attempt by the shelved gods to communicate with one of the things that's really gotten to me is that the first thing that Khonshu tells Stephen is tell Mark to
Free.
get me out. Yeah, to
Yeah.
free me. And you notice that Stephen never actually said that?
Yeah.
He never said, oh, Khonshu, he said go and break him out, I don't know, I'm veering into Liverpudlian there.
Yeah. You suddenly become Paul McCartney.
Yeah, so, then Michael Jackson and I were just noodling.
All right. So
we're all over the place.
we are. Yeah, I noticed that, but then it seems like the two of them, oh, I guess they're not really seeing everything now unless there's a mirror. So I don't know if Mark would have seen that or not because there was a mirror on the ground.
Right. I think it's interesting because I think that one of the reasons why I think it's the Ennead or maybe specifically Khonshu talking to them is because they are close to death.
Yeah.
They were shot twice. I find it fascinating how many shows I'm watching now where there is a superabundance of Mausers. Where I mean, I love it. They're cool looking gun,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like, wait, why does Harrow have one?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't he?
Side note, just something that came up. The one thing that really threw me off in Batman.
Yep.
When he's calling to try to save Alfred, because he finds out that Bruce Wayne's the next thing, and it's an old rotary phone. Why? They've got money. Anyway, back to Moon Knight.
Yeah. You've actually thrown me off now with the whole Jake as his partner thing, because that would be very Fight Club.
It would, and they are doing a lot of Fight Club stuff. I've kind of gotten to a point when it comes to these Marvel things, the more outlandish the story is, the less likely it is for me, because they haven't been doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, Agatha, but Mephisto's behind Agatha. No. Oh,
it was Agatha all along.
The power broker. The power broker is going to be Arnim Zola or the Red Skull. No, it was just Sharon Carter.
Sure.
It's just they have.
But it's not though.
So they've got they set up these things, and the fans start doing these big ideas, and then they kind of bring them back down.
Yeah.
And okay, so what would Marvel, from what Marvel's been doing, most likely Towerette has been sent in to save him because Khonshu probably asked her to keep an eye on Mark when he wouldn't be available.
Yeah.
If anything ever happens to me, keep an eye on my avatar. So she's there to rescue him. That's my thought.
Yeah.
That's the simplest.
And I think the third sarcophagus is just Jake.
Yeah, second circle.
Although somebody did point out that Marlene had a scarlet scarab on her band-aid.
Her new last name, El Paoli, is the name of the scarlet scarab.
Yes, and I'm just like, and the last sarcophagus was red.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely could introduce the Scarlet Scarab, but he's such an obscure character.
Yes. Although drawn by Frank Robbins, so
yes.
I love Frank Robbins on The Invaders, which is where he introduced the Scarlet Scarab. But man, I did not like him on when he was on Captain America.
What's funny is the first comic book I ever read was a Frank Robbins Captain America.
Wow. Was
Captain
it
America 189, I believe.
The Trial of Snap Wilson?
No, but it does have it has this 2-page spread with Captain America caught in a light and Falcon's caught in another light, and the cover has all these other villains on there, and they're all illusions when you get inside the story.
Ah.
Yeah, that's the first comic I ever read when I was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But
anyway, Moon Knight.
Yeah. So I think Jake was in the scarab or the sarcophagus. Right. I think that they're borrowing names because they do that a lot.
Yeah, where they're not.
It's like Arthur Harrow is not the Arthur Harrow from the comics. So just because Lara has El Fayoul's last name, I don't think that makes her the Scarlet Scarab. But I think they realized where they pulled it from and put to throw readers off. Yeah.
So I think sometimes they just do homages for Easter eggs.
Well, she has been searching. Her and Mark had been searching for the scarab for a long time.
Yeah.
So
it was a gold scarab.
Yeah. And her dad was looking for it before that.
Yeah. But it'll good God, what do we got? No, we got 2 left, don't we? So this one, I'll be honest, it feels like it's been on longer to me.
The episodes feel long to me.
Yeah. I don't think they are.
No. I mean, they're all in the 40 to 50 minute range. You know, so they're a little longer than the normal, because there's been some on the other series have been like 38 minutes. Really?
Yeah.
But these all feel like they're cram packing them with stuff. You know? But I honestly don't know where it's going next. But in the comics, Mark gets trapped in an asylum like this, and Dr. Emmett is the doctor, and it turns out to be Amit.
Yeah.
And Billy and Bobby, the 2 interns, are both jackals. And it turns out that the actual thing is set up by Khonshu because he's trying to snap the rest of Mark's mind so he could just take over the body for himself. And then they've since kind of retconned that away. But that was Jeff Lemire's run on Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood. So the whole asylum thing is straight from that run. You know, I'm not a big a fan of what they've done with Moon Knight with leaning in. I mean, I liked it when he had multiple aliases, that he was basically the Marvel's version of the Shadow. Yeah. I was good with that. I loved the Doug Munch and Bill Sienkiewicz run.
Yeah.
I've been reading the more recent run with Jed McKay, and it's still pretty good. But again, I like them being persona, or I like them being aliases more than personalities. But it's where they're going.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I always I didn't read far enough in the Munch Sienkiewicz run that they had turned into anyway, they were just identities. They were aliases.
I don't think it turned until Warren Ellis got a hold of the book.
No, because ironically, Stephen Grant, the comic book writer, wrote a couple of like, he's like, I had very little to do with this. I wrote like he wrote like two things. He's like, I have no connection to it. It was a pure chance. Don't bother me with this stuff. But he actually used um, talked about them being uh, alternate personalities,
Okay.
alters.
Because I
Um,
don't think it came up in the Doug Munch run. So it must have been someone in between.
yeah, yeah. Well, it could have been. I mean, could have been Kreisenberg. Is that his name? Like,
Alan,
yeah. I don't
let's
think
cover
that's the.
Alan
Huh?
Kupper. Was it Alan Kupperberg?
No, no. It's maybe it's something. Here we go. I'm gonna look it up because he's been credited a couple of times. But Alan Kupperberg primarily did art. He
Okay.
didn't. He
I know there
didn't
was Alan
write.
and Paul Kupperberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan.
There's a
Oh,
Zelenitz.
Zelenix.
Yeah.
Zelenitz. Yeah. And he followed right after Mensch.
So maybe he's the
Or
one that did
actually, he overlapped with Mensch even.
that. Okay.
So, um,
I
but
mean, I've got the Essentials books that
yeah,
cover most of the Munch Sienkiewicz run and then into the
I'm
next one.
I'm so
But
angry. I had a chance to get the Epic collection on that one and failed to do so, and now it's worth ridiculous money.
was the Epic the black and white ones?
No, the Essentials was the black and white one. The Epic collection are the ones they're putting out now in color.
Okay, I have the Epic ones.
Ah, well,
Yeah.
curse you.
Actually, I think I have them right here.
Oh, now you're just going to rub my nose in it because it came. The first one came out while I was working at the comic shop, I think, or a restock came in,
Hmm.
and I, could have gotten my employee discount and everything, but I
Yep.
went looking for them online, and it's like $200. Like, nope, nuh-uh.
And the fourth one's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I picked
Uh,
these up, and this one just came out,
mm-hmm,
the third
mm-hmm,
one.
yeah.
So
But yeah, I'm still not sure entirely where we're headed. Um, I want to see some sort of a détente reached with the alters.
yeah,
Uh, I feel it still feels like it would be weird if Layla, she's married to Mark, she's kissing Steven. It's like I don't know where to go. That seems like that would be a complicated relationship.
yes, yes.
Uh,
I don't know what she's going to do with Jake. In the comics, she has a baby with Jake.
yeah.
She leaves Steven, and they think Steven thinks they're broken up. She ends up in the suburbs with living with Jake.
So I feel like they're going full on taxi driver with Jake.
Yeah.
The sort of
Well,
you're talking to me.
the later versions of Jake is the more violent one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the more protector one. He's the more of the Brad Pitt character.
Ah, right. Um,
Yeah.
but I want to actually see Crawley not in his. I mean, we did see him in the sanitarium. I don't know what the proper institute.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't. It was funny because when I saw him in his statue, the gold paint, I thought, oh man, that guy would make a perfect Crawley. And then
Yep.
it's like, oh, that's because it is. Though
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I honestly don't know what they're going to go with this.
Yeah.
If there's a reality we haven't seen yet, or if what we've been seeing is reality and this is just a ploy by one of the gods. I don't know.
I think it's purgatory kind of thing. It's like the gateway to the afterlife.
Yeah.
Stephen would know the proper terminology in the Egyptian mythos, but I don't.
Yeah. Crawley is probably, it would be the Overvoid.
Sure. Although in the Egyptian mythos, you have to go to the underworld to get your heart weighed
Yes.
first.
And then pass
So
through the field of reeds. And
yeah,
if, and Amit eats your heart if it's judged unworthy.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Although Amit's shut away, so you know,
Yeah. I honestly don't know where they're going with this. Like I said,
yeah.
I'm curious because I feel like they kind of have to put us back into the reality we saw in the beginning.
Without a doubt. I like I said, I think this is something afterlifey going on right now.
Yeah, because if they don't, then we're going to end up in a very. I don't think Moon Knight becomes a character that's ever usable again.
Yeah, yeah. It would be yeah, and quite honestly, yeah, I would like to see something veering more along the lines of Moon Knight being a viable for interacting with the rest of the
Oh yeah,
uh, and we heard yet whether there's a second season planned?
no, and it's been listed as a mini series, so it's not listed as a ongoing series or.
Right.
Uh, so I don't think there will be, and I know Oscar Isaac is only under contract for this.
Hmm.
But I think that's part of the fact that he got burned doing the X-Men, and then after coming off of Star Wars, he didn't want to sign anything more, and they really
Right.
wanted him. But he and the director have both talked about, it'd be great to have him go up against, go with this character. They both
Yeah.
seem to like him going with Mark Ruffalo because of the duality of personality. But
Right.
so I have a feeling he'll pop up in other things. I don't know if we'll get a second Moon Knight, but
Yeah.
he'll probably be pulled into whatever, either the Midnight Suns or whatever they're doing with Black Knight and uh, Werewolf by Night and all these characters, or into a version of the Avengers when we get to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Blade.
Blade, that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to think of.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be used again. Plus, you have an actor like Oscar Isaac, you don't just one and done him. You get as much out of him as he'll let you.
And it'd be a weird use of Moon Knight too.
Yeah.
To just go like, oh, here's this cool character that a lot of people he doesn't have a huge following, but he's got a very dedicated following to just
Yeah,
like go up 6 issues or 6 episodes, it's done.
but there's
Would be
so
weird.
many characters in the Marvel universe that they really could afford to do, this one and that's a one over
Sure.
there and move on because, there's still plenty of characters they haven't gotten to yet.
Well, and they ran into that with that's one of the reasons why the Black Widow movie didn't come out, is they had stuff planned out so far ahead that they couldn't course correct and go,
Yeah.
oh, we should do a Black Widow movie now. So yeah, I think that they're probably going to try and tighten thing, not go so far out. But
Yeah. I think that's the advantage now of having Disney Plus is they can do those quick decisions and, we really should have a something with this character. Let's do a series quick.
Yeah. So, well, like Moon Knight after Khonshu got statued, we're about ready to disappear, I think.
Yep, that's the end of the show. So we will be back next week to talk more Moon Knight and whatever else comes up. Maybe some more winning time. We'll see what comes up. But everybody have a good week. Paul, have a good week. And